everyone, it's me, Miss Louderback, and I'm going to walk you through how to annotate your plate boundaries map of the SeaFloor using either your stylus or your mouse. You can even use the touchpad on your Chromebook to help you with this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to map out the plate boundaries using our materials. The divergent boundary, we're going to mark dark red, and that's going to be anything we see the word ridge or rise on our map. So as I scroll down, here's the map of the SeaFloor where we see all the mountain ranges that take place and the landforms that occur. I'm going to use the drawing feature on Cami, and I'm going to pick a thickness of my pen here. All right, I'm also going to pick the dark red color, and I'm going to move through. And then with my stylus, I'm going to look for anywhere that it says ridge or rise, and I'm going to annotate that directly on to my map here. And I'm just going to follow along. Now, sometimes it's a little difficult to read the map. You can zoom in. And then using the select tool, you can use the hand to grab around and explore the areas of the map. Oh, I changed the color. There we go. All right, go back to drawing. All right, so that's just the example here. All right, you want to continue on with the rest of your map. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to scroll down here. And we're going to look at the other part, convergent boundaries. So using the dark blue, we're going to mark the convergent boundaries, and we'll label them on the map. That's going to be anywhere where we see a trench on our map. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to pick my drawing, pick the dark blue. And using my stylus again, I'm going to monitor anything that says trench and follow along that trench path that takes place. I'm also going to mark this area on the land that's labeled convergent. That's the Himalaya Mountains and the Arabian Plate. Sometimes you're going to have to toggle back between the selection tool and the drawing tool as you go through and marking your map for annotations. Okay. So again, I'm just doing a few samples. This is not the entire map. You need to go through and do the entire map itself. I'm just kind of walking you through a short little path here to figure out how to use the different annotations. Okay. Next is the transform boundaries. That will be dark green. We're going to look for the words fracture zones. So transform boundaries are when the plates slide next to each other. I'm going to have to click on the little palette here for more colors. Select dark green. There it is. And then I'm going to mark anywhere that says fracture zone. Okay. And I'm also going to mark along the California line. On land, okay, those areas that are moving side to side, those are known as faults. But in the ocean, they're fracture zones. Okay, so here I've got my plates kind of set up, and I'm just going to fix it a couple so you could see a little 2 plates in mind. I'm going to go up. The other thing the directions say is to label the divergent, convergent, and transform boundaries on my map. So I'm going to use the text box feature, and I'm going to pick the colors, blue for convergent, and then I'm going to add my little convergent boundary. And I need to remember that at a convergent boundary, the plates are moving towards each other. Oh. Blue, save. Okay, there it is. I'm also going to make it darker, and I'm going to increase the text size so it's easier to read. There we go. There's that convergent boundary. Make sure I spell it correctly too. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, no. Go back to the color. I didn't realize it was in the same box. Okay, then I'm going to add another text box for my divergent boundary. And I want to make sure that my divergent boundary, which is an area that's moving away from each other, is going to be red. Okay, and put that by the locations here. And then lastly, a transform boundary, which we're going to put over by California. And since they're moving side to side by one another, we want to also make sure that those transform boundaries mark the same color as our fracture zones. There we go. All right. Okay. Now that I've labeled some of my boundaries here, you can see the distinction between the two. I want to talk about the next part, which is coloring the inside. In class, we're going to use color pencils to lightly color over the plates. On Cami, we're still going to use the drawing feature. We're going to color the Antarctic and Pacific plate. We're going to leave that white, but the African plate will color yellow. The Australian and India plate will color purple. South America will be orange. North America blue. The Eurasian plate will be brown, and the Nazca plate is pink. So here, for instance, on my drawing feature, I'm going to draw in a few other plates here so you can see the rest of the material that's coming forward, and it'll be a little easier to understand this process. There we go. Okay, so here's the thing. When I'm coloring, you notice that I'm drawing and it colors over the shapes. It's hard to see. We want to actually see the shapes that are taking place, the actual plates. So Africa is supposed to be colored yellow. So I'm going to make sure I select the yellow. But here, I'm also going to click transparency, and I'm going to move the transparency down halfway. So when I color in the continent of Africa, I can still read that it's Africa. I also want to remind you that plates are more than just the continents, but also the ocean crust that makes up the plate as well. So here is the African plate, color-coded for you. And you can still see all the segments down below. Okay, the Nazca plate, that is supposed to be pink. So if I pick more colors, I select pink, I click save, I can pick on that pink. The Nazca plate right here belongs right here. See how I can still read the information in front of that? Okay, so that's why we have that transparency piece taking place. Okay, the Australian and Indian plate is purple, so I'll select a purple. And then with my stylus or mouse, I'm going to color in the Indo-Australian plate. Sometimes depending on the literature you read, they combine these two plates or they keep them separate. All right, so here is my labeled plates. All right. So again, that is the transparency feature right here. So once you're done with this and you've annotated it, you are good to turn it in, and we'll check your work in class. Thanks again for following along. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher. Bye.